Self-care is not always about doing great things for yourself, doing something grand. I think it does not take much if you are a human being, right? You have to be happy 24 by 7, 365 days. Thank you. That's it. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Sunita Lama, a student from BMS second year, also a member of the Wellness Club. Today on the eve of Valentine's Day, we have with us Neha ma'am. She is the Assistant Professor for the School of Computer Science. Welcome ma'am.
Thank you so much, Shweta.
Yes ma'am. Let's start with the first question. What are some acts of self-care that makes you feel loved and appreciated?
Okay, thank you so much for the question, Shweta. Okay, so I'll tell you how I start, right? How I, end my day. Okay, so I start my day with journaling and gratitude. So the second thing that I do is I prepare a special cup of tea for myself, right? I choose my outfit, I prepare and pack my lunch. And preparing and packing my lunch is something that I do to make myself, happy when I open my lunch box, right? Then after my hectic day at work, what I do is I take myself out to cafes, right? And at the end of the day, I write down my feelings, my experience that I had throughout the day. So when I go to the cafes, right, that is where I start journaling, right? I sit relaxed and I start journaling there. And Shweta, I've come to a realization, that self-care is not always about doing great things for yourself, doing something grand. It is about doing small things, but that matters to you so much, right? And that brings peace and joy into your life.
Yes. All right. Yes ma'am. Second question. How do you prioritize your own needs and desire on a daily basis?
Okay, as I told you all, my routine and journal has helped me a lot, I'd say. I call this sometimes stubbornness, and I also rephrase this as determination. So I always create time for my work, right? As well as I plan out my breaks properly. So the whole week I work properly, right? And during the weekends, I take myself out, okay? And my priority of, making and doing things on the right time, right? Staying focused when I have to, right? Taking breaks when I want to. This has helped me a lot.
So, ma'am, how do you take your time out for journaling?
Yeah, as I already told you that I do journaling when I go and sit on the cafes, right, during the evening. And in the morning, the first 15 minutes, right, after bed, I always try and journal. And journaling does not mean I scribble or I write, right? But I, sometimes color, right? Sometimes jot down points that I have to do, right? And I segment it this way. When I journal, I segment it this way: the things that I have to improve, the best thing that I did, right? And my plans for tomorrow. So these are the three segregations that I always have in my journals. And journaling, I think, does not take much time. It takes around 7 to 10 minutes to journal, right? So I think the time that I put into journaling is not waste, but it's a small kind of self-care that I do, right, to improve the day that I have, right?
What self-limiting beliefs are you working on to overcome?
Okay, so I had a belief that if you are a human being, right, you have to be happy 24 by 7, 365 days. And I have come to a conclusion that this is something impossible, right? So I'm working, and I've read this somewhere that happiness, you cannot be happy all the time. And this has made a lot of sense to me, right? And the mixed feeling that you get, right, of being sad, being frustrated sometimes, being joyful, right, that is okay, right? And when you think about all these feelings of being sad, frustrated, angry, actually it's all temporary. So there's nothing to, be frustrated about. There's nothing to be sad about, right? Because these are some of the, emotions that you have for some days. Maybe for an hour, right? Maybe for some days. So it's okay.
Thank you for the questions. The next question to you is, in what ways do you celebrate and honor your own uniqueness and individuality?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. Yes. I practice three things personally. The first one is whatever I do, right? The choices that I make, I trust it. Second thing is that uh, I have started believing that anything that happens to you, right? Everything that happens to you happens for a good reason, right? And the third thing is that always stay, true to yourself. And these three mantras that I practice, right? I think this will help you a lot, right?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. Anything that you would like to add for the viewers?
Okay, thank you, Shweta, for having me here, firstly. And for the viewers, I would like to state that whatever works for me might not work for you too, right? You have to discover what resonates with you, right? And you have to make a practice to, you have to make a practice of loving yourself more, right? Today you might not be able to do all, right? But if you find out some of the things that makes you happy, right, and you practice it daily, I think you'll get that self-satisfaction maybe after a week or a month. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. That's it for the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, I'm Hans Gatwal from the Wellness and Counseling Club of Inspiria Knowledge Campus, and today with me I have Ridham Rabidas, a member of our club. First of all, welcome Ridham to this podcast.
Thank you so much, Himanshu, for calling me for this podcast.
So today we will be interacting about self-love, self-care since Valentine's Day is near. And Ravi, my first question for you is, how do you practice self-love and prioritize your mental and emotional well-being in your daily life?
First of all, Himanshu, the way how I look into my life is that I don't want to destroy myself by neglecting my needs and overly neglecting the thoughts and the emotions that I go through. And thus, it gives me a space to introspect and to know my heart deeper. And there are habits like journaling and reading books, knowing the ideas of the authors, those who have been through their life situation. That helps a lot, I guess.
So, Ravi, what are some activities or habits that help you feel grounded and take care of yourself?
Firstly, it would be my daily journaling, in which whatever I have done throughout the day, I write. And it gives me an eye to understand the things that I want to do for tomorrow. And it makes me more happier to have a schedule to work and to complete the task. And it also helps me to prioritize the tasks depending on their emergence, like the urgency. This is one thing. Secondly is about the sketch. Oftentimes when I'm unable to process my emotions, I just do sketch. Pick up the colors, those crayons, and I just make some sketch. It makes me feel happy. And I also love to go out cycling and oftentimes with friends, hang out in cafe and talk to them heart to heart.
Alright, that's a lot of activities you do. And I'm interested to know about your journaling journey right now. When did you start journaling?
It's been almost 2 years when I have started journaling. It was first suggested by my own personal mentor. And that time, I was having a rough patch of time in my life, but then he said that I must start journaling to understand my emotions that I go through, and also it will help me to manage my time well. And thus, that was the time. I remember I was in class 11 back then when I really started journaling.
Oh, that's lovely. So, while facing challenges, what strategies do you apply? Do you to stay connected to yourself, to your sense of self-worth and inner peace?
At that moment, I keep myself in a third perspective. When I am going through such storm in my life, I would say, I like to place myself in the third perspective foot so that I can see the places where I'm lacking and also understand the next step that I must take in my life. I think myself that I'm a friend to myself and I start to talk myself just like a friend. For example, if you're in trouble, I would come to help you. And in my case as well, without being very hard on me, I take time for myself to understand the situation that I'm in and just take a moment to have a break and grasp the situation around me. And it helps me to make decision more clearer.
And that's really wise of you, because when we are in trouble and we often think that in our own perspective, we don't think that in a third person's perspective. So when we are thinking it on our own perspective, we can't think properly. So that's really wise that you take that third person perspective in your
Yeah.
problems. Okay, Ravi, Rhythm, how do you set boundaries and take time for yourself, especially when your life gets busy and stressful?
Yes, firstly, it's about learning to say no. It's the very right moment when we learn to say no, and that is when we start to set the boundaries, which is helpful for us. And in turn, when we have too much on our plate, it harms us. We begin to set ourselves in an autopilot mode, and we don't know what step are we taking in our life. It's just the simulated life that we live in. But the time when we start self care and we know our needs, our priorities, that is when we must learn to say no. If something is beyond my life's capability, if something that is too much concerning and bothering, that is when the limit comes in. For example, limit is not about what I cannot do. It is also about what and when should I do the right thing. That will give you a lot of ideas about your own limitations, and it will also give you the spheres where you must focus. Often we neglect our family just because we are too busy in our life. We neglect our own heart's desire because we're invested in fulfilling others' desire. That is one thing that we must learn to say no.
Yeah, saying no, that's an important factor of self-love.
Yes.
So, what are some small acts of kindness or positive affirmations you use to nurture self-love and personal growth?
Every day when I wake up, it's the most difficult part for me to wake up right on time in this cold weather. So I just say to myself, I'll just pull throughout this day. And I just want not to just survive, but I want to thrive. That is the drive that I have to run for throughout the day. Yeah, the small moments of happiness is when I gift myself something precious. For example, I love coffee, like Americano. I love it. So whenever I have done something good, I'll just feed myself. I just reward myself with something that will satisfy me. That is how I am kind to myself and to others as well. To be kind, it means I give my ears to them to listen what they have to share.
Well, that was lovely. Thank you so much, Rhythm. It was lovely having you here. We appreciate your presence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Himanshu, for this wonderful platform and opportunity to share my views.